Raga. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new video. And today I'm going to be talking about my USMLE Step 2 CK exam experience. And the reason I decided to do the Step 2 CK exam experience first is because that was the first exam that I took, and therefore naturally I decided to do these videos in a chronological order. So there are many things that I want to tell you about my exam experience, and I hope that it helps all of you. Videos like this definitely helped me before I did my steps, and therefore I hope that it'll also help all of you who are watching. And I also have a little cheat piece of paper here with me on which I've written all the points that I want to mention to you guys, just so that I don't miss out on any important points about the exam. So this video might be quite long, and depending on how long it is, I might either put it all in one video or I might split it into two separate parts. So I guess you guys will know by the end of this video. So let's just get right into it. As I mentioned before several times, I did my USMLE Step 2 CK, which was my first step that I took, in February of last year, that is 2015. So I took about 4 months to prepare for that exam. When I came closer to my exam date, about a few weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before my exam, I started really panicking and I started getting nervous because I knew the exam date was coming close and that I really needed to cram studying and be able to finish everything that I wanted to finish before my exam. I took about 3 days of educational days off before my exam, and I took it close to a weekend so that I had a long weekend before my exam. At the beginning of my exam month, I made sure that the person who was creating the on-call rota did not put me on call on that weekend, which was the weekend before my exam. The last NBME that I took, or last self-assessment that I took before my exam, was 10 days before my exam. I knew that I did not want to take a self-assessment or an NBME too close to my exam, that is even 1 or 2 days before my exam, because I knew that if I did badly on that I would start panicking and I would start questioning if I was ready to take the exam or not. So I knew I did not want to do that, so I took the last NBME 10 days before my exam, and then I didn't take any more. The day before my exam, I did not study anything major or anything new, and that's what I suggest to you guys as well. Please try not to study anything new or anything major the day before your exam, because that will be a day where you're so stressed out about your exam. And I know you will have the urge to study a lot and try to cram as much as you can on your last day. But don't do that, guys. I feel that's a very bad idea, because it's just going to add to your nervousness and it's just going to make you even more panicked before the exam. And just imagine getting a whole bunch of new information right before your exam. It's just probably not going to be the most effective studying. So what I did, and what I suggest to you guys as well, is that I went through all of the notes that I had made over the months, and I also went through first aid, especially the topics that I had marked or that I put the paper tags in that I showed you in my previous videos. I went through those, and I read some of the explanations from UWorld that were still pending. I didn't do any new questions in UWorld because I did not want to again freak myself out, especially if I saw that there were many topics that I was not aware of. I didn't want to psych myself out, and for that reason I didn't do any new questions, but I just read the explanations of the questions that I had already done. As I mentioned in my Step 2 CK preparation video, I was not able to finish the UWorld question bank completely, and that was one of my regrets. Because I did not subscribe to UWorld early in my prep, and that's why I still urge you guys to please make it your best friend, make it your study buddy from the beginning of your preparation, and hopefully you all will be able to finish the question bank before your exam, which I think is so important, and I will tell you why with regards to the exam. Another thing that I had kept in mind before the exam is that I wanted to go to bed as early as possible and get enough sleep before my exam. This is because many of my seniors and many of the people who had taken the exam had told me how important it is to be well rested before the exam, simply because exhaustion plays such an important role when you're taking this exam. So I had decided to go to bed around 11 p.m. the night before and get a good amount of sleep. However, obviously things did not work out the way I planned, and I always had something that I wanted to review before I go to bed, and I ended up sleeping at 1 a.m. that night. And I really regret that. I'll tell you guys why, and please don't do that. If you're about to take a step, please get enough sleep. Go to bed early. That is so important. I cannot stress it enough. Before I went to bed, I prepared a few of the things that I wanted to take to the exam the next day. And I have a few of the things that I actually took to my exam right here just to show you and give you an idea of what I took, and maybe it can give you some ideas about what you should take. So I took 2 bags to my exam. And I'll tell you what they are. The first bag is this one. This is just a simple bag from 9 West, and it's like an open top with a button. And the reason I decided to take this bag is that it's more rectangular, more flat, and it keeps its shape if you keep it in a locker or something. So it's perfect to take like papers or put your files in there if you want to take it to the exam. I don't use this bag anymore. I used to use this when I was in my pre-med years. The bag that I use right now is this one. It's really handy for work. I take this every day to the hospital. I've been using that for a long time, and I absolutely love that bag. But for the exam purposes, because I was not taking too many things or too many things to study from for the exam, because obviously you wouldn't have time to study at the study center. So this was just the bag that I took for my papers and my files, etc. And I took another bag for my food and drinks, etc. It's a little childish, but I like it. It's this little cute bag. It's like made of cloth. What I kept ready the day before was this bag with my files and my notes and whatever I wanted to keep in there that I wanted to keep straight. Oh yes, and your scheduling permit. That is so important because if you don't take that to the exam, they won't let you sit for the exam. So I even printed out 2 copies. I don't know why. I just printed out 2 copies and I kept it in this bag. And in this bag, I obviously kept a small plastic bottle of water for the exam the next day, and I also took a little granola bar. This is the bar that I took. It's just this regular honey and oat granola bar. And the other things that I took, but I didn't prepare the previous night because it's perishable, was a sandwich that I bought the previous evening to take to the exam. So I refrigerated that over the night, obviously. And guys, please take something to eat for lunch when you go to the exam. Don't starve yourself because you're taking an exam and it's quite an extensive, exhausting exam. So I would really suggest to you guys to please take something to eat. I would suggest take something like a sandwich that is not too messy, something that's easy to eat, that you can quickly eat and go back to your exam, because you will be literally timed. I will talk about the timings of the exam, but you won't have much time. So just take something that you can eat quickly, but definitely take something to eat because that's very important. You need to be able to have some food in your system so that you can think and you don't think about how hungry you feel or whatever. Another thing that I took to the exam the next day that I prepared the morning of the exam was iced coffee. I love iced coffee. I don't usually drink hot beverages. The only hot beverage that I drink, I think, is hot chocolate. But other than that, I don't drink any hot beverages. So I took it in this little flask, I would say. It's not a thermos because it does not retain the heat or cold of your drink, but it just serves the purpose of carrying your drink wherever. And I kind of like it. It's pink and it's a leopard print, so it did the job. And this is what I used to take my iced coffee the next day. So I prepared the iced coffee the next morning. And there's something that I haven't mentioned about coffee or drinking coffee during your exam. I went to bed at 1 a.m. as I mentioned, and I was supposed to be at the exam hall by 7:45 the next morning because the exam started at 8. And they mentioned on my scheduling permit that I have to be in the Prometric Center about 15 minutes before my exam time, which was 7:45. But I was so nervous about being late, and I so obviously didn't want to be late, so I took extra precaution and I left from home at 6:45, and it's sort of a 30-minute drive to the Prometric Center, so I left way in advance. And the morning of the exam, I was really nervous. I obviously was having butterflies, but not in a good way, and I was really stressed out about the exam. So then I packed the rest of the things that I had to take, especially my food, like my sandwich, and I made my iced coffee, and I also took a strip of paracetamol, just in case I had a headache during the exam, because obviously when you have a headache, it's so annoying to be in an exam and have a headache and there's nothing that you can do about it. So I definitely wanted to take that with me. I was contemplating about whether I should drive myself to the Prometric Center or I should ask my dad to drop me off and then pick me up when I was done. So I finally decided that I would ask my dad to drop me since it was my first exam, and that I thought that maybe I would want to review something on the way since it's a 30-minute drive. I thought that that's a good amount of time for me to review the last minute things that I wanted to review. So my dad took me to the Prometric Center, and I reached there pretty early because I left really early. I reached the Prometric Center about 7:15 or 7:20 in the morning. I signed in, I submitted my scheduling permit, and I obviously had a little bit of time before I entered the exam hall to review some of the things that I wanted to review. And then I went in around 7:45. They gave me a little locker where I could keep these bags. And oh, by the way, guys, you cannot even wear a watch to your exam, so don't bother wearing a watch. I didn't wear a watch because I knew that they won't let me wear it, so I didn't even take my watch. What I wore for my exam was formal pants that were very comfy, and I wore a regular top, and neither of these had pockets. The reason for that is it's better not to wear something with pockets, because each time you enter the hall they will check you and they'll make you invert your pockets to just check that you don't have anything to cheat with in the exam, and they also make you lift your pants above your ankles to make sure you don't have anything there either, I guess. And they, kind of check you with a metal detector as well. So just to avoid the loss of time, I didn't wear anything with pockets in it. And you are allowed to take a little cardigan or a little sweater with you if you want. The thing about that is when you enter the exam hall, they will tell you that you can either wear it as you get in, and you should keep it on the entire time in the exam. You cannot take it off and leave it loose on your chair or somewhere else. That's just not allowed. Or if you don't want the jacket, you should remove it before entering the exam hall and keep it in your locker before you go in. So the first time I entered the exam hall, I was not too sure how the air conditioning was going to be, if it was going to be too cold for me. So I decided to wear it the first time and I went in. But to be honest, when I entered, even though the air conditioning was pretty good, when you're in that stressful situation and you have all that adrenaline running in you, it's easy to stay warm. You don't really feel cold. You feel actually more on the warmer side, I would say. So the next time I got out of the exam hall during my break, I took off my jacket and I left it in my locker. So when you enter the exam hall, you have this one station that you're assigned, and that's where you'll sit. And I think it's pretty spacious and very comfortable. The chair is comfortable, and you have these two boards on the side of your station that'll prevent you from, obviously looking into the next station, into the next person's computer or whatever. So I would say it's pretty private, but there is a camera right above you where they will be kind of looking, obviously that's to check if anyone's cheating. There's one thing that they will give you to take into your exam, which is a little board, a plastic board, on which you will write with a marker. You will write your ID number, your exam ID number, and they'll give you a little eraser as well. And that's pretty much your notepad or whatever. That's where you can write all your notes, and you can obviously reuse it because you have the eraser with you as well, so you can wipe it off and reuse it. But obviously you have to return that before you leave the exam. That's the only thing that you can take into the exam hall. And before you start your exam, they will show you a tutorial on your screen, which is basically, how to navigate through the exam and, about the timing and, for you to adjust your the sound on your speakers, etc., on your headphones, etc. So this tutorial is usually 15 minutes, and I will give you guys a little tip, which is what I did for my exam, and you guys can do it too. 2 days before my exam, I had gone on I think the ECFMG website, where they have the same exact tutorial that they play in the exam there for you to watch. So you can just watch the tutorial there and see what they tell you and how they make you, adjust the sounds on your headphones. And on the exam day itself, you can skip the tutorial, and if you skip the tutorial, that 15 minutes will be added to your break time, which is great. I knew that I wanted that extra 15 minutes for my break time, and therefore I watched the tutorial before time. And the only point at which I stopped during the tutorial was to adjust the sound of the headphones to check if it's equal and if it's actually working. That's the only place that I stopped during my tutorial, but the rest I just skipped, and I got almost the entire 15 minutes added to my break time. So the entire exam was 9 hours, including your break time. So you have 8 hours of exam and 1 hour of break time. So there are 8 blocks. I think most of my blocks for the Step 2 CK had about 44 questions, 2 that had 42 questions, and I think 1 block that had 41 questions, but most of the blocks had 44 questions. And the way I divided my blocks was that I took the first 2 blocks in one stretch without a break in between. And then I took a 10-minute break, and I went out. I used the restroom, I drank some water, and then I came back in. I took another block, and then I think I spent 2 minutes in my seat, and then I took my 4th block, and then I took my lunch break, which I think I took 15 to 20 minutes for my lunch break. And I left the exam hall, obviously, and this is where I regret not having my car there, because my dad dropped me. I didn't have my car there, and the Prometric Center where I did my exam, I'm not sure if it's the same everywhere else, but the Prometric Center that I did my exam in did not have like an area where you could have your lunch, or just a lunchroom or whatever. They didn't have anything of that sort, so I was sort of struggling to find a place to eat. Because I wanted to quickly eat and also review a few things from my notes before I re-entered the exam. So what I eventually did is I found a place to eat, I ate, and I reviewed some notes, and I quickly came back to re-enter the exam. And I also at this point had a little bit of coffee before going back inside. But guys, with regards to drinking coffee on your exam day, I would say avoid drinking too much coffee, because even though it will, keep you awake and keep you alert, it is also a natural diuretic. So you don't want to constantly have to leave the exam to use the restroom every now and then. Obviously, that's just going to make you waste your break time and make you very nervous because you keep running out of the exam hall. So you don't want to do that. So be very careful with how much coffee you consume. I just had a little bit, just enough to keep me awake and just make me alert for the remaining blocks, but I didn't drink too much, even though I filled the entire flask with coffee. Then I went back in, I took 1 block, then I took a 5-minute break. Just in my seat, I just took some deep breaths and just sat in my seat. Then I took another block, and then I took another 5 minutes in my seat again. And then I took my 7th block, and then I took a 10-minute break. And this time I left the exam hall again. I used the restroom, drank some water, and then I came back to my seat. Then I did the final block, and I was so relieved. Guys, once I was done with my blocks, I was so relieved. At that point, I didn't want to think about my grades. I didn't want to think about how I did. I was just so happy that I was done, because I was in studying mode and exam mode for such a long time that it just felt so relieving that I can just relax now and go to sleep. And right after you finish your exam, they have this survey on your computer that they make you do with whatever time you have left. So your break time, how much ever break time you have left, they use that time to make you do a survey. And once the time is up, the survey just closes by itself. And I think I had a few more minutes of my break time left. So in those few minutes, I just filled up a part of that survey, not the whole thing. Anyway, it's not that important. So when you leave the exam hall, they will give you a little paper on which they mention that, you know, this person has finished, has completed the Step 2 CK or whatever. So it's sort of like a paper that says that you did come to the exam hall and you did take the exam. So guys, that is the end of the part 1 of this video. Since this video has been stretched over quite a while, I need to break this video down into 2 separate parts. So the next video that I'll be posting is the part 2 of this video, where I'll be mostly talking about the questions or the type of questions or how I found the questions to be in the Step 2 CK, and what I did or my strategy with answering the questions in the exam. So if you guys are interested to see that video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!